Our next inductee is Jared Olsen from the class of 1997. Jared's 3-year varsity basketball scoring average, 21.5 points per game. I'm guessing he probably had a better free throw average than Shaquille O'Neal as well. Jared is currently Fruitport's only basketball player to be named All-State. Here's Jared Olsen.
My basketball story is pretty traditional. I grew up in a very athletic, competitive family. You know, it seems like it was a daily routine as far as playing sports outside, watching sports on TV. As I got older, probably in middle school, I started realizing that I had a gift. I started really pushing myself. You know, probably a point in my life was in 8th grade. I had 54 points in a basketball game, and afterwards I sort of thought to myself that I really needed to take this to the next level. It was something that a gift that I had that I needed to utilize. So in 9th grade, I was moved up to varsity at the end of my 9th grade year, and really that was something that was really beneficial for me. It sort of exposed my weaknesses.
We had an opportunity to see the type of athlete that he was and how competitive he was, and how it didn't seem to matter that he was younger than the rest of the people that he was playing against. When I took the job at Fruitport, many people said, well, you can't beat this team, we've never beaten this team, we've never beaten this team, whatever the case may be. One of the things that I'm most proud about, in the fact that this is something that Jared really emphasized, was the fact that we were going to beat the Ludingtons, we were going to beat Muskegon Heights, beat the teams, Puffer, that we traditionally had not beaten before.
Somebody asked me what made Jared an exceptional athlete, why he was above the rest. And it was certainly a young man that was poised, he was conditioned, he had tremendous coordination and endurance, and he made things look easy. His drive to the baseline, or his catching a pass, it was just effortless, and I just amazed watching him in 3 years what a gifted athlete he was. In basketball, something very exceptional, and that is that he averaged 21.5 points per game for 3 years. I think back at the great basketball players in Michigan history, the Dan Marleys and the others, and I think nobody did that, especially combining his sophomore year and his junior and senior year. He was awarded All-State in Class A, the only Fruitport Trojan to get this award in the history of the school. He is the all-time leading scorer with over 1,400 points, and he was just tremendous.
I remember in the winter time, I would try to make friends with custodial people so that I could play in the winter time at different churches, at different schools. Before school, I used to go in, shoot a couple hundred jump shots, some free throws, take a shower, and then go to class. It was just a daily routine that I would try to do.
And once I got to know Jared, it was just the real deal. I mean, he was a special player, he had great skills, and he had a passion for the game, and really enjoyed just playing basketball. Some really memorable experiences for me involving Jared. Number one was just a great double victory, home and away against Ludington. He really closed the deal up there towards the end of the year. I think he made like 13 out of 16 free throws, had 19 points. Another great moment was the Reese Puffer game. And we had lost to Reese Puffer earlier. We were playing at the barn at, that's what they called the old gym at Fruitport, you know. And just a tight battle all the way through. We were down by 1 point with about 10 seconds to go. Got the ball, called a timeout, had to go the length of the court. 3/4 of the court had a sideline out of bounds. And we designed our sideline out of bounds for Jared. And he got the ball, went the length of the court, went through everybody, laid it up at the buzzer, and won the game 49-48. You know, put us on his shoulders like he did through the course of the whole season, and just a phenomenal emotion to beat Puffer in that way, being down, winning at the buzzer, and the barn really was rocking that night on that win.
So I didn't start playing football until I was a sophomore in high school.
Even though we didn't throw the ball very much, he went out there and played as hard as he could. He did everything we asked him to do. He never missed a practice. His demeanor was always what you'd want out of your football players. And I saw the same type of athlete in basketball, where he played with intensity, and obviously you could see he was in his element out on the basketball floor. He just went after it. He wasn't afraid to take shots, the same way he wasn't afraid to go up after those loose balls in football that could have gone the other way, and he made some terrific catches. He was a good student. I remember him never being in trouble at school. You know, he was one of those solid kids that you knew you could always depend on.
I'd say the thing that I liked best about him was his demeanor. Never seemed to get too upset. Just something went wrong, and just worked a little bit harder. And there were rumors that he was going to make everybody better when he came from 8th grade. You know how you hear the 8th grade stories? Well, this one was true.
The things that made Jared the most successful was his knowledge of the game. He was a student of the game. I mean, he knew what he was going to do before he actually did it in basketball. It was impressive. He had a first step, and he was by the guy before he even realized that he was. But just his athletic ability and his actual knowledge of the game. One of the best memories I remember is our senior year. We ran all the way to the finals of the districts, made it to the final district game, and the previous years we were out in the first game.
We were playing Grand Haven. It was the last game of the year. We're at Grand Haven, and it is a tight game. And we're behind by 3 points when we get the ball back at our 30-yard line with 4 minutes to go. And we're driving, and it's 57 power, 56 power, 22 trap, 57 power, 22 trap, and we're a relentless running machine, and Grand Haven is now powerless to stop us. But our opponent is the clock. And we get to their 40-yard line. It is 3rd and 2, so obviously we're going to run the ball and pick up the first down and continue the drive. And surely Grand Haven puts 8 men in the box. They have both their corners playing up. They have 10 people at the line of scrimmage. And just like usual, 4 times a game, whether he needs to or not, Steve threw the ball. We call a 57 boot, and our quarterback, Eric DeRuyter, fakes right and rolls left, and all alone is Jared Olsen. And I remember Eric saying in the paper, "Oh, please God, don't let me miss him." And Eric threw the pass, and Jared brings it in perfectly over his shoulders, cruises in, 40-yard touchdown pass for a score. We didn't throw very often, but with Jared Olsen, when we threw, it was usually a touchdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big go blue for Jared Olsen.
Not wrestling. First of all, I'd like to thank Ken Ernie. I'd like to thank the committee. I'd like to thank everybody that put on this banquet tonight. It's a true honor to be here. You don't get many opportunities to get in front of your family and be able to thank them for everything that they've done for you. So I'm going to take this opportunity to do so. So my wonderful family is over at these 2 tables over here. First off, I'd like to mention my personal family, my wife Debbie, my 5-year-old daughter Gracelyn, and my 3-year-old son Garrett. I had Now, technically, these three individuals have never seen me play football or basketball, and sometimes my daughter will question my athletic ability, and I make sure I tell her that Daddy was in a little better shape back in the day when I was playing soccer or basketball with her in the front yard. But my wife Debbie, she's full-time mom, full-time wife, full-time teacher within the Fruitport community, JV volleyball coach within the Fruitport community, and is really the rock of our family. And my kids, they're the reason I work so hard every day in my profession, so that they can have the same opportunities that I had that my parents gave to me. Second, I'd like to mention my brother. I had to mention my brother. Now, my brother, when I was a sophomore and I got moved up, he was a junior on the basketball team, and when I was a junior, he was a senior. Now, during that time, I was receiving a lot of attention from the paper and college coaches and the community and so forth. And for a 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old young man, that has a younger brother doing that, you would think there could be some jealous actions or some negative attitudes. But my brother was anything but that. My brother pushed me. My brother was supportive of me. My brother, he wanted me to succeed, and that was, one of the things I remember is, a lot of people might have been asking me about basketball, but technically they should probably have been asking him about character and how to act on a team and be part of a team. So he was always, that role model for me to be able to look up to how to act in a classroom, how to act off the court, how to act on the court. Next, I'd like to mention my parents, my mother Christine, my father Steve. Both of these individuals have always been supportive of me. And when I mean supportive, it's not the, hey, Jared, he has an athletic talent, let's start supporting him. They would have supported me in anything that I decided to do. Thank goodness it wasn't theater or player, it was sports. But even if I did decide to do that, they would have supported me. My mom has always been my biggest fan. As I think back and I don't think she's ever missed an official game of mine in soccer growing up and in basketball and football. There was a couple times that were close. I remember when I got moved up as a freshman, and we were playing at Sparta. My mom usually got there a little early, and she was there right on time. And I remember asking her afterwards, well, what happened? And she said, well, she got pulled over, and she yelled at the cop to hurry up and give her a ticket so she could get to the game. So that was good. The other one, she might kill me for saying this, was I remember in 8th grade, the ref actually asked her to leave the gym. Did I mention we're competitive? Yeah, we're a little competitive as a family. But the ref actually asked her to leave the gym because she was yelling too much at the ref. So the refs weren't good. Former coach, those refs are never good. But I'd just like to conclude by saying that I truly believe that everybody's given talents and everybody's given gifts. It doesn't have to be athletic. It can be in the theaters, the arts, transferable skills, the communications, the multitasking. But everybody's given gifts. The difference is some people use those gifts and other people don't use those gifts. And I was fortunate enough through my family support, through awesome teammates that I had, through coaches that pushed me on and off, Steve Wilson, Steve Root, John Spengros, Kat Pullman, Doug Vanderwall, and the list goes on and on, all the way through the system. Fruitport coaches were always so supportive, always pushed me. And most importantly, the community at Fruitport, they always supported their student athletes, and through that I was able to achieve my goals. Thank you.